Right, good morning. Another beautiful day. I love all this. I love all this like rainy weather, even if it's not great for everybody in the state, right? I was reading this morning, like all the poor people up in like Big Bear and Mammoth, and like another round of snow. It's supposed to rain a lot, like tomorrow, right? Like a ton, like over an inch. Rain, rain, rain. It's like we finally got a softball game in this weekend, and then they crammed 3 games back to back to back to back because they were so glad to get a game in. I got sunburned. Like I haven't been out in the sun and like, oh, I was like, this isn't good. It's not boding well. Like I'm going to be in really warm weather in like 5 days, right? Like very, very soon. And I'm already getting sunburned. I'm like, uh-oh, I'm going to come back like a lobster. Right? I've got 2 colors, red and white, right? Those are my tones, right? That's it, red and white. But this is my week. I fly out on Thursday. Like it's this week. My thing on my phone says 4 days and 23 hours. What was that? I have a little bit, but well, like my kids' backpacks. Like I made them really cool, like travel backpacks. I'm pretty proud of them. They've got like a lot of stuff to do on the plane in the bags. Though I didn't realize, so I don't know, there's all this like really dangerous like activity in Mexico right now, all the cartel activity. And I had this article pop up and I was like, oh, I'll read it. And I'm like, oh, it's nowhere. We're going to the Yucatan Peninsula. So I was like, oh, we'll be fine. And I click on it and it's like, I didn't know that Honduras, where we're going on like day 3, it's apparently the 2nd most dangerous place to visit in the world. Yeah, like the record high levels of child trafficking, murder, and like assault. I was like, oh, maybe we won't get off the boat there. Yeah. Belize. And we're going there first. So yeah. So apparently, yeah. I know, and I chose this cruise. I'm like, why didn't I do it? In my mind, I was like, well, we're going on a cruise, like it's going to be safe. We're going to touristy areas, so we should be safe. But if I don't come back, right? I'm like, oh, we're going to like the most dangerous places in the world, apparently. Not the 3rd one. The 3rd one's totally safe. If we make it there, so yeah. We go to Belize, Honduras, and Cozumel. Yeah, so Cozumel is like safe. That one I'm not worried about. But apparently Honduras and Belize are like the most dangerous places to visit in the world for children. And yeah, I'm like, oh great, I have 3 little girls, right? So my partner's like, we're not going. I'm like, wait, no, you can't cancel it now. It's only 4 days away. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll get off the boat. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get like a leash, right? I'm a leash. I'll get like a leash with 3 prongs. Yeah. What was that? Not a bad idea, right? It just, we're going on like very touristy, like established, we're not going off the beaten path. I'm not going to go explore like hidden ruins or something.
If you're like in groups, like we should.
Yeah, we should be. Though I was reading, so you know how when you're online, you can go down like a rabbit hole so easily. I was reading about these 2 tourists, these 2 Americans who got shot and killed in the middle, like they got caught in like a middle of like a drug feud like 2 months ago and were killed in Belize. I was like, why am I reading this right now? So anyway, so we'll see. Hopefully it all goes smoothly, right? Yeah, things to dread. I'm still excited, but now I'm a little more nervous than I was before. No, we should have, right? That my youngest isn't tall enough because she doesn't eat. So since she doesn't eat, she's so short. She's like 47 inches. You have to be 48. I was like, stand up tall. Come on, kid. Eat some chicken. So she's not tall enough. So we're going to see Mayan ruins if we make it there. Like now everything's like if we make it there. And then we're going to this like underground cave system. So I'm like all that scary. I watched too many scary movies and like the creatures are gonna come for me. But so we're going to underground caves, we're going snorkeling, and then we're going to Mayan ruins. So I'm excited. I'm most excited about the food, but yeah. Yeah, and you made it back. Yeah. I'm like, am I not tanning? My partner and my whole family is Hispanic, so we should be. Okay. All right. Yeah, it is a perk. And I do a little. So yeah. Yeah. I know, and everyone says wonderful things, and people like reviewed it and made it home. So I think I'll be okay. So if any of you want to show me, I've never done an Uber. If any of you want to hang out after and show me how to do that, I'll take your help, right? We need to take one from our hotel to the cruise port. And I'm not worried about it, but I've never done it. So if you have like tips, come tell me what to do. Right? I will happily accept the help. So yeah, so it's coming soon. I wrote a few things on the board because I want to remind you. I'll put them up there on Wednesday too, but we have class today. And then we have class Wednesday, and then I won't see you for a bit, right? So today we'll finish up chapter 9, and then maybe start just a tiny bit of 10. And then Wednesday we'll cover chapter 10. Then next week, so this is what next week will look like. So I'm flying out on Thursday, and I'll still have access to my email like Thursday and Friday. But once we get on the cruise on Saturday, I won't have reception, right? So if you email me at all next week, I won't get it. And I'm so sorry, I'm going to put like an away message. I will get it when I get back, but I likely will not be able to respond to you. So I know that could make it a little tricky with like the exam if you run into an issue. But if you do run into an issue, email me and I'll deal with it with you when I do have reception again. But when it starts next week, Monday, we don't have class. And I planned for this the whole time because I've known for a long, long time this was coming. So on Monday, you have exam number 2. Right, so on Monday, we won't have class. You'll take the test. Just like last time, there's a study guide. Just like last time, it'll open at 12:01 a.m. and it'll close at basically midnight at 11:59. So you can use your notes, you can use your book, same format as the first test. Most of you did phenomenally on the first test. And if you did well on that, you should be great here. Same style, same format, same everything. So Monday, we won't have class. You'll have the exam. And then Wednesday, we obviously won't have class. I'll be in Belize dodging people, right? But on Wednesday, we won't have class, happy and sad. And I'm gonna give you a little homework assignment so that we don't fall behind, and I plan for this as well. So it'll pop up Wednesday morning. It's just gonna be like related to chapter 11, which is sex and gender disorders, which I normally don't cover anyway. I always give this homework assignment anyway. So you'll be doing a little homework assignment that's due on Canvas and reading over that chapter on your own. And then the week after that's spring break, right? So after Wednesday, I won't see you for 2 weeks, which is a little sad. But one of them was spring break anyway. So hopefully it gives us all a chance to kind of reset and recharge. And then next week we'll have our exam. And then Wednesday we'll have like an alternate assignment. So I just want to mention that. I'll mention it again Wednesday, but are there any questions about any of that for now? Anything for now about that at all? And again, if you run into an issue with the exam, or if you run into an issue with anything, you're welcome to email me. But while I'm gone, there's literally, even if you buy the Wi-Fi on a cruise, it's awful. So I won't be able to respond to you most likely until I get back. But please feel free to email me anyway if you run into something. I did also grade all of your papers. I don't know if you saw that, but your scores populated. Most of you did fantastic. The vast majority of you got full points. A few of you didn't give me an academic source, and so you lost a few points for that. And a few of you didn't quite give me enough for like, you only gave me like a page or a little bit more. Other than that, most of you did fantastic, right? You're on the right track. You've got a good start going. That final paper isn't due until the end of April, but something to kind of be thinking about. We'll talk a lot about it after spring break. We'll kind of build up to it. We'll talk about APA format and all that kind of stuff. But for now, I did grade all of those, so you should see your score. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I have responded, I believe, to all of them. I can check after if you want to check with me real quick. Okay. Yeah, the second that it closes, it locks it. So you have to email it to me. So I'll double check. If you want to check in with me after, I can see if I still have it sitting there. But yeah, otherwise I've graded them all short of that. Okay. Anything else here for now? Any other questions, concerns, thoughts? Is anyone else going somewhere fun over spring break? Yeah, where are you going? Wow, that's exciting. That's a long trip too, right? A
Yeah.
long flight.
Yeah.
Right? Hopefully somebody or yourself make a nice backpack for you for the plane too, right?
Yeah.
That's fun. Anybody else going anywhere? Yeah. Nice. That's fun too, right? Not as far of a flight, but sometimes that's nice, right? Anybody? Nice. Okay. Anybody else? Anyone else going anywhere? Yeah, where are you going? That's fun though, right? You don't have to go anywhere like huge. Normally we don't go anywhere. I haven't been on a plane in 4 years. I'm not looking forward to that. Like, let's just drive there.
Don't sit down on Netflix about playing that with the same. I love them.
Somebody in my other class. Okay, yeah. Then somebody in my other class sent me an article. I guess there was a cruise ship last week where 300 people got norovirus, and they sent it to me. They're like, "Here, I hope this isn't you." I'm like, different cruise line, but I was like, "Yeah, thanks. No, hope not." All the fun things to look for. All right, well, I'll focus back in here, but I wanted to just make sure that everyone knew what was coming up and what was going on. Otherwise, I have that we left up here. We were talking about interpersonal factors, right? I know I told you about Addison. I saw her over the weekend at a softball game. She struck out and I clapped a little bit. I'm like, I felt so mean. She struck out and I was like, right? Yeah. Yeah, right. I always feel bad. I'm always worried that like it'll be somebody's sibling and they'll be like, that's my daughter or that my sister or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry, but she's awful. Anyway. Yeah, it's me, right? I'm always worried. Right? What was that? Oh, I will update. If she's there, I'll take pictures.
Please.
Right? You're like, I want lots of pictures. Yeah. Yeah.
And she was like, don't put salt in your bread, it makes you fat. And I was like, oh, she's gonna go whole generation.
Right. Instead of Karen, it's gonna be Addison now. That's gonna be the next, right? Like you're such an Addison, right? It's a cool name. I'm not insulting the name, just that one girl. Right. Okay. So we talked about interpersonal factors. We talked about psychological factors, right? So we had things like low self-esteem and depression and a whole bunch of psychological stuff. The interpersonal factors were like bullying, like we talked about, and then family cultures and so on. There's also some biological factors that it can't just be this, right? Otherwise it would fall into the realm of like a medical issue more than a psychological one. But biologically, sometimes people don't have like the cues of hunger working properly, right? It could be that maybe their hypothalamus isn't detecting their blood sugar levels properly. There can be genetics involved with eating disorders. Really difficult to decide if it's genetics or if it's something you just watched and learned, right? It can be hard to kind of tease those things out, but there are genetic elements and biological elements at play. They just can't be the only culprit. Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. Also expressing that like same symptoms, kind of be like a dormant, like how are they sure or what's the.
Sure. And so again, it's like that whole nature nurture debate, right? And so it would be a parent who like overtly shows signs. And it's something like 12%. It's not nearly as high as things like depression and other stuff. And it could be that you just modeled it rather than like it was biological, and there isn't much of a way to like tease that out. So it's kind of a combination. And that's the essence with all of these. It's kind of all of them together playing like no role. Right, but it's much less prevalence than other disorders for sure. The cultural factors are really big. Our society, our culture has a lot of like very narrow definitions of beauty, for both men and for women, and a lot of like trying to fit people neatly into boxes. And so when we talk a lot about like beauty equating to thinness for women or beauty equating to being like more muscular and stronger for men, that sets the tone for people, right? When you don't see people who look like you in the media or in magazines or on TV or whatnot, that can kind of infiltrate into your mind and make you steadily feel like, oh, I'm not attractive like them. I don't look like them. It's kind of like an othering feeling that can come from that. So there's a lot of like kind of glorifying thinness in our culture, right? And this is something that has been around for a long time. It really picked up steam in like the 1980s, but every decade or every kind of generation has different norms of attractiveness and beauty. If you go back to like the 1950s, being a little bit heavier set, like Marilyn Monroe wasn't super, super tiny, right? And she was like the paragon of beauty in the 50s, right? And now when we look at standards of beauty, it's much thinner, right? And we almost get this interesting split of like people being really overweight or really underweight, right? And kind of a shrinking of the middle. But there's a lot of cultural and societal factors that play a role in this, like what's normal, what's attractive, what's portrayed in the media. And I know that most of us, I think, have an awareness that the things that we see in the media have been altered, right? Like I think most of us know that when you see a model or when you see something in a magazine, that's not what that person actually looks like. But it's easy to forget when you're being bombarded with that. Yeah.
In my pop culture class, they showed the difference between Calvin Klein ad from one magazine, from like a dude's magazine to a women's magazine.
Yeah.
The dude's schlong was like 6 inches bigger from one to the other.
Okay.
Totally fake.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean,
Women's magazine.
it was bigger in the women's magazine. Interesting. Okay. Right. And there are huge differences, right? Every pun intended maybe there, right? Big differences between, what is real and what we see, right? And how many of you have seen the like Dove ad? It was like 10 years ago at this point, where they like digitally manipulate somebody. I have it. I'll play it for you. It's really brief, but I think most of us know this, but I think we tend to forget it. Right, that if you've ever seen somebody who's like a famous actor or actress in real life, they often look nothing like they do in the media. Like maybe not, but there's so much makeup involved. There's digital editing involved. So let me play the short clip for you, and then we can showing you that process. Right, so she looks so different from when she comes in to that billboard. But that billboard is what we all see, what we kind of subliminally take in as we're like viewing these images, right? And so even though we might know that that's not what she looks like, right? Those are the images that we're constantly seeing. And nobody can live up to that, right? Because it's not even a real person anymore. They made her neck longer, her eyes bigger. They remove every imperfection. If you ever open a pop culture magazine, it's like everybody looks the same, right? They're all like digitally, like airbrushed and perfect and spotless. It's those, again, narrow definitions of beauty that tend to play a big role. And there's a lot of expectations around attractiveness and thinness in our culture that can very much fuel, right, people developing an eating disorder. Any like thoughts or comments on that? I thought there was a hand a second ago, but any thoughts or comments on anything socially or culturally here? Anything at all? Yeah.
I think it's very difficult for society to limit like
Sure.
now it's all inclusivity and being diverse, but then for example you can see bigger women with curves and it's just like, oh no, it's too much. Or you see a thinner woman and it's like, oh, you're too thin. So it's very controversial and very difficult being for sure a woman and everything, but even for men.
Yeah.
It's just society is one can't take with one image and be happy with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky, right? Because we have that, like we have this balance of wanting to be more inclusive and wanting to be more representative, but then we fight like these old norms that we have. There's a lot of kind of back and forth. And sometimes it comes up with videos like that too, like the pressure of makeup for women, right? Like adding to norms of beauty, which is a little off what we're talking about, but still kind of related. And then again, for men being like stronger and being more muscular, being more of the norm for men, right? So those things tend to play a role, and there's been a lot of movements to fight this, right? If you go back maybe about like 8 years or 7 years or so, there was a couple of songs that came out that kind of pushed in the right direction of like fighting against these norms. I heard one of them for the first time and it totally reminded me for the first time in years, but like All About That Bass was one of like the biggest ones that like kind of came out like 7-8 years ago that started to start this new wave of like, it's okay to be a little bit heavier. But there are problems with that song too. My daughter used to love that song, my oldest. She'd like walk around like singing the song like completely wrong. And it's all I can think in my head when I hear it. But songs like that kind of starting a new wave of trying to fight back against these narrow definitions, but again, with some issues as well. Yeah.
It's. I don't know if you know Lizzo,
Mhm.
but she has like her new things, like she's promoting her music to like positive with
Yeah.
with music with his friends. And so her old music body positivity, so she has a lot of songs.
Yeah, right. And it's kind of like a newer like wave, like within the last like 8+ years or so. And there you see this constantly, right? If you go back, like there's always somebody who's doing that, but trying to be a little more positive about bodies, right? Instead of like shaming or feeling that way. Right. So the All About That bass song, Lizzo definitely, and I've read that as well. And then Kobe Calais had a song Try that was kind of along the same lines, right? Trying to get people to like let go of some of these beauty norms and move beyond them. And again, some of them are better representations than others, but our culture and society plays a big role in what we see as attractive. And if you combine all these together, if you're coming from a family that has narrow definitions of like what's healthy and what you can eat and what you can't eat, and you're struggling with some psychological factors, and then you add in like cultural stuff, the more of these that you have present, the more vulnerable you are to developing an eating disorder. And again, these can be difficult to treat, which is where we'll go next. Any other thoughts or comments here before I move on? Anything else? Yeah.
On TikTok, like the other day, I saw like a TikTok about like almond moms.
Uh-huh.
It's like they're like, oh, eat an almond, like they eat an almond a day, like to get them through or whatever. And it like was reminding me of this. I was gonna send it, but I thought.
Mm-hmm. How does that eating an almond a day, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't get it, right? But I've heard that too. My partner watches an obscene amount of TikTok, right?
Mm-hmm.
I end up watching more of it than I want to. Yeah. Same.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And there's such a culture of that on there, right? Of like, like the thirst traps and what's attractive and what isn't attractive. And it's definitely interesting, right? And then you add like all of the people like we were talking about last time who eat or don't eat or eat bizarre things for like attention on TikTok or on like YouTube or on whatever, like on whatever platform, Twitch or whatnot. Very common for people to do live streaming things to get attention. I had friends who over the weekend like ate spicy hot like chocolate to see if they could get themselves to throw up on stream so that they would get like money and like stuff from it. They raised like thousands of dollars for people watching them like throw up from eating spicy chocolate. Right? It's ridiculous. I'm like, I could go online and see how many pieces of cake I can eat and people could watch me do that. Like, it's so bizarre, like social media, the things that are on there. And I don't think that helps with this stuff either. It kind of creates this odd, toxic environment around food where people are paying other people to do these behaviors or watching them and people are earning money from it. Makes it complicated, like the competitive eaters we talked a little bit about as well. With treatment, so we'll talk about treatment for both. A little bit different for anorexia versus bulimia. So slightly different focuses. With anorexia, because somebody is very underweight by definition, the first goal is to get them back to a healthy weight. And this is really difficult to do. I mean, the nature of the disorder is that somebody doesn't want to be at a healthy weight, right? They are refusing to eat. And so sometimes this can require hospitalization or even a little bit of like forced feeding or like installing tubes to force somebody to eat, like a stomach tube. But restoring a person to a healthy weight where they're like out of that risk from their weight is the first goal. And that again can be a very difficult emotional thing to do. And then trying to treat the issues related to the eating disorder. Where does it come from? What caused it? Is there something that happened that's fueling it? Is it related to control? Is it environmental? So trying to identify some of the issues that are causing it and treating those, and then trying to reduce or eliminate behaviors that might lead to relapse. Is there somebody that you're around that might be a trigger for you? All right, are there certain groups that are triggers that we might help you to like avoid or like troubleshoot? What are the things that are going to cause you to relapse? And the relapse rates with these are very high because it's something that you're constantly dealing with. Food is something you need in order to survive. And so people oftentimes are triggered with this, and extreme stress can kind of launch somebody back into a relapse. But it's relatively common, unfortunately, that people do relapse over time. And it can be an ongoing battle between being at a healthy weight and kind of going back and forth and back and forth. With bulimia, similar, But because this is more like cyclical in nature, the goal is to break the cycle. Right. So with bulimia, you have that binging and then purging pattern. And so we have to try and break that pattern. You have somebody binge and then you don't let them purge. And that can be very emotionally difficult. Right. And again, sometimes people are hospitalized or go to rehabs or treatment centers. But we're trying to teach better eating habits, trying to teach control during binges, trying to avoid binges. There's a lot of like individual and group therapy that can be part of this. Group therapy is really popular with eating disorders, right? And the idea is that you have a group of people who are all struggling with the same thing, right? If everyone in that group is struggling with bulimia, and one person says, like, I ate a piece of pizza yesterday and didn't throw it up, everyone in that group knows how profound that is, right? Because they've all experienced something similar. And so group therapy is traditionally used for eating disorders a lot. It's also quite a bit cheaper than individual therapy. But we see a lot of that, a lot of behavioral therapy, maybe journaling, keeping track of what you eat and how you feel after and what you did after, and kind of looking for patterns to try and break them. Sometimes we'll put people on medication if we think that depression was like an underlying factor. So if somebody maybe had depression and that's fueling this, it might be that we put them on an antidepressant to help, but it's not going to necessarily help with the eating disorder, but more like the underlying factors that might have caused it. Yeah. Sometimes, right? So most antidepressants, with the exception of like 3 or 4 of them, do tend to cause weight gain. Cymbalta, Prozac, and Wellbutrin are ones that tend to cause weight loss. So it's pretty common that it can help not only with that, but it also tends to help like alleviate the mood struggles. But it's kind of a double, like, it can be a little bit of a bonus there. It can also be problematic if someone starts gaining too much weight. It can spiral them back even farther. But yeah, it's a very common side effect that antidepressants cause weight gain because they affect serotonin so intensely. Mm-hmm. I thought you put your hand. Again, a lot of effective treatments, but a lot of relapse. Relapse is very, very common, especially for bulimia, even more so than anorexia, because it's so rewarding. When people have a binge and then they purge all of it, it's an instant reinforcer. And so it can be very difficult to break that cycle and get somebody on like a healthier path with their eating. And so we see that being a big challenge with both bulimia and anorexia, that people get better, but then they can be triggered by things in the future, which can cause them to relapse. I put this up here if you're interested in like knowing more about this, and I've been trying to do this more, like recommend any books or documentaries. There's a couple of really cool documentaries. To the Bone is probably the newest. It's on Netflix, and a really good documentary, Dying to be Thin, and then Thin is the one I showed you the promo of. And then there's a couple of books as well, which are really like easy reads that are very interesting related to this topic. So if you wanted to know more, here are some suggestions. And then I have a little case study that we're going to do as like a way to review this before we move on. So I'm going to hand everybody out a sheet so you have your own, but I'd love you to do this in groups. I think that's going to make your life easier. So I'll give you each one, but then if you want to get into groups of like 2 to 4, you're going to read through this little case study. This is a true story. And then on the back, there are 4 questions I want you to answer. And you can turn one sheet in per group, so you can just have one person write it. But you're going to look at what are any reactions you might have overall. What are some signs and symptoms that this person has an eating disorder? What factors do you think influenced it? What are some causes? And then what are some options for treatment? So I think this will be a really nice way to do before we move forward. So again, here's one for each of you, but then find like 2, 3, 4 people, whatever's easy, and go ahead and work on it together. You are going to turn in one sheet with all your names on it. Stuck together. So I'll give you a little bit of time, and then we'll talk about it before I collect it. But go ahead and read, find a group of people, and get started. Yeah.
I'll read it. I'm 16. This is- Six, it's so sad. Oh, yeah.
I'm asking for around 30, and you went down. That was I was never.
Yes.
No, I know, I thought I feel that. Yeah.
And when you're answering these, feel free to do bullets and you only need to print one sheet per group. You can turn in your own if you want, you don't want to.
Or now she's 16, but at the time she was. No, it's not really.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
Yeah.
That's signs of being disordered, a rapid, like. She went through sides and qualities, like, so we learned to like, I should from the point. Yeah. I got through. Okay, fine. She had a fear of weight gain, right? Starvation. Like she was like bullied and stuff, so like changed her self-image. When she was a kid. True, yeah. When she was they act like she made her the factors. Like successful, and very. Yeah. I didn't come from that. Yeah. And so. Oh, yeah, I didn't have a nice friend. Yeah, it's really. Yeah, like. Yeah, it's.
Yeah. Let's take just a few more minutes and then we'll talk about it together. Just a few more minutes.
Could you like maybe? I said behavioral therapy stress. It's triggered by her. It's like and then I said occupational therapy is amazing. Other than like one more minute. Yeah, so I'll put some medication in the first time. Yeah, I was going to say. Instead, I got freedom to the bonds. The word that I don't like, so I made it better than they want. It's easy. So. Not working on this, there's things. I don't think it's. Yeah.
So this is a true story. I found this online. This was somebody's like personal account of their struggle with eating disorder. And I think you can definitely see signs that she's really struggling as you read through this. So let's go through this. For number 2, what are some of the signs that she has an eating disorder? I want to give you one to start. Yeah.
Pursuit of extreme thinness.
Yeah, right. Definitely pursuing being quite thin, right? You see her dropping from size to size to size. What else do we see? Yeah.
She loses hunger foods with.
Yeah.
Goes some size zero. She said she had no taste.
Yeah, right. Like, so losing the taste for food, not even like noticing the cues from her body, like hitting a point where she's not even noticing it anymore. Yeah.
Disillusionment, consequences of weight loss.
Yeah, right. So there's a lot of consequences that she's experiencing and just really kind of like oblivious to them in some ways or not concerned with them. What else could we add? Yeah. Yeah, right. Like exercising a ton, all the like sit-ups that she's doing constantly. Not that sit-ups are problematic on their own, but as part of like a bigger picture. Yeah. Yeah, right. She's so underweight that she's cold, right? Because she doesn't have any body fat on her anymore. Anything else we want to add? Yeah.
Locked in the back.
Yeah. So in private, right? Like hiding that behavior, doing it in private, like being ashamed of it or trying to like keep it from other people seeing. Yeah. 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 That's a huge change, right? That's a massive change from 14 to like a 0-0. And really like going through that very quickly. Anything else we could add? Anything else you have written down at all? Yeah.
But her heart rate number.
Yeah, so it's affecting her heart rate, or it's affecting her overall health. I bet she has a very distorted image of herself. Remember, that's one of those criteria that we see with eating disorders. Really restrictive eating. She talks about eating only like fat-free stuff or not eating at all, exercising in private. There's a lot of things that are going on that can pretty clearly indicate that she's on a problematic path, right? What about some of the causes? What are some things that might either have caused or contributed to, or maybe are maintaining her eating disorder?
She says how she was bullied when she was in like elementary school.
Yeah.
Being overweight.
Addison got to her too, right? No, I'm just kidding. Right. Yeah. So she was bullied when she was younger, right? Bullying, again, being one of those factors. Yeah.
What was it? Oh, media, mainstream media.
Okay. Right.
affecting her.
Okay. Right. So being affected by the things that she's seeing. Yeah.
So an unhealthy relationship with food in a different way.
Sure. And what's interesting is I think a lot of us have the potential for an unhealthy relationship with food, like, and whether it gets worse or stays the same or gets better, can depend a lot on like life circumstances. Yeah. Okay.
Because they talk about how she's never went to a young age.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, from my experience myself, if you aren't taught how to keep them healthy in the diet as well, you don't know how much is too much or how much is too little.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit complex. We're not what she thought was easy.
Yeah, I like that, right? So not really having like a model of what healthy looks like, right? That can be a big issue, right? If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing and you're kind of trying to make it up as you go along, right? What else? Yeah.
I think it's the same habitual thing later on in life.
Sure. Right. It became normal for her, right? Like almost like a habit. There was a couple other hands. What else? Yeah.
Getting,
Yeah.
losing too much weight, and before that, she's beating the fan. She like practices it, because she thinks she's.
Okay. Yeah, so maybe some of that shaming didn't help, right? And kind of that transition. Did you have a thought as well? Yeah. Yeah, that's huge, right? The reinforcement, right? People noticing being praised. We could also add that she fit into clothes, right? That when she went shopping. And so this is a big one, and it's a big one for men and women, or for anyone really, like, but definitely for women, that the clothes sizes that are often available at stores are very like restrictive at times. And so the fact that all of a sudden she could fit into anything and everything, got a lot of reinforcement for that behavior, which is only going to make it stronger. Yeah.
Seem like what her boyfriend made her get on the scale too, kind of.
Yeah. Right. That was almost like a trigger for her. It launched her a little bit in the wrong direction. Anything else we want to add? I think we got a great like picture, but anything else you had written down just to make sure? What about how can we help her? I mean, she gets some help in here, but what do you think? Thoughts? Yeah.
That would help her like create an individual like style.
Yeah. Like a plan of some sort.
She could maintain and people with.
Yeah, I love that.
Oftentimes, I know. Like, she mentioned, like, we're not taught. Like, everybody's body's different.
Yeah.
And everybody's eating. Is different.
Mhm.
So some people need more protein, or some people need more fiber in the diet. It's not one size fits all.
Yeah. Yeah. And so having a meeting with somebody who gives her maybe like a better, more custom plan for her could be really helpful for sure. Yeah.
It's said that she's already losing a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So she needs to, before anything else happens, she needs to start maintaining her current weight.
Mhm.
And so to do so, she should be having high calorie version foods, protein foods. She should not be allowed to use scales, and she shouldn't be allowed to calorie count if she eats.
Yeah. So kind of working on having a healthy weight, and then maybe trying to eliminate some of those problem behaviors that you mentioned that aren't helping. Yeah.
That's good for also being the size on her clothing.
Yeah. Right. Rip the tags off or something, right? Yeah. The size and the scale, like there are triggers for her. So trying to eliminate them. And then, you had mentioned her family, like not knowing a proper way, right? Maybe even like having the family go to therapy and like working on the family culture and education around food could be helpful. A lot of things could help her. And you see how she relapses in here. This is such a common presentation where somebody gets better and they're doing pretty well, and then something launches them back in the wrong direction, right? And this can be a constant ongoing battle of trying to break that cycle, right? This can be a very strong cycle that's difficult to break for people. And so you see a lot of presentations like this of like improvement and then relapse, improvement and relapse, and trying to get like a long-term pattern established is a little bit difficult. Hopefully kind of a helpful little review. I have one for when we get to substance disorders as well next time. If you want to pass those up to me, make sure your first and last names are on there. I will collect them from you.
JACK.
Thanks so much. All right. Well, have everyone. Okay. All right. So before we move on, any last comments, thoughts, anything else related to eating disorders in general before we go on? Yeah. Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know yet. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right now, I'm training to be a bodybuilder.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not allowed to have any sugar, no carbs, no this, no this, no this.
It's so sad.
Is
For you. Right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Right.
because I've been on this replacement instead.
Hmm.
And I didn't do it. So why would you think other people would want to do it that way?
What do you think? I mean, I can think of some reasons, but do you have?
I'm.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
other
Right? Yeah, I mean, I can in my mind think of a few things, but there were some hands, yeah.
Yeah. We're like food control with this, and like one thing that they've told me a lot is that like the food is like the one aspect of control.
Yeah.
And so like if you take that control away, like if you give that control to a dietitian and nutritionist, like that is the whole unit. Like that's the whole safety and taken away. And so it's like the medication is the idea, like, okay, it's the idea in their head, like, if I take this, it'll help me get better, but I don't have to do the really scary thing yet. It's
Which is
like-
the food.
It's the
Mhm.
food, like it's prolonging in a way. It's like they're not really getting there, like they're not really getting to the like exposure with the food and really like making themselves good. But I think it's like a stepping stone in the right direction, because it helps you get, it helps you forward.
And remember that a lot of eating disorders is about that control. There's a lot of elements of I'm out of control of other things. I can control what I put in and out of my body. And so it doesn't force you to address that like really hard part, but you're getting some help, right? So it is kind of like a stepping stone. I like that. We'll go here and then here. Yeah.
Sorry. But. Like taking a pill to fix something is like the easy way out,
Mhm.
usually.
It can be.
And, I mean, drug medications and the commercials that we have out there,
Mhm.
it's like. It's easier for somebody to go to their doctor, get medicine
Yeah.
than, you know.
Address the underlying
Change,
Mhm.
you know, the habits.
and the behavior. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You were saying that eating that one particular carb makes you feel really gross, where when you're anorexic, a lot of the time eating any food will make you feel that way.
Can be. Yeah.
And so it's kind of just starting to eat food will be like, you know, just taking that one bite is enough to make you like, okay,
Yeah.
that's enough.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, even if you diet, right? Like you were talking about, you're on like a specific diet, right? If you refrain from eating something for a while and then eat it, you can feel pretty like awful, right? Physically or emotionally or both for doing so. And so I think it's a little easier to take a medication than address the underlying issue. And it just really depends, right? But that's not uncommon that people will, I'm not going to actually face this, but I'll go like get a little bit of help, but I'm not going to face the like underlying part. Yeah. Did you have one of
the like society for like keto diets, like no carbs.
Yeah.
Even though there's like the main reason like the brain uses carbs. to
Yeah.
work, and completely putting it out like or processed foods, like they're okay in moderation. but
Yeah.
Society's kind of been like, that's unhealthy, don't eat it,
Mhm.
even though any kind of sustenance is better.
Yeah, and you really do need a little bit of carbs in order to function like to some degree, like you can eliminate some, but you know, we have all these different groups of foods and you need a little bit of all of them. Any diet that eliminates everything completely is what we would call a fad diet. They don't tend to be sustainable, right? Like a diet that doesn't allow any carbs ever, like there are consequences to that. There are diets that only high protein, there are consequences to that, right? It can affect your body and the way it functions and the way you think, the way you smell, right? Like certain diets can affect like smell and body odor, right? And so everything's kind of a balancing act a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
If you tend to like overeat or like you take a lot of fiber in food, like you might not want to restrict your
Sure.
food, and we look for other ways, like I feel like that's why intermittent fasting is so popular.
Yeah.
because you're allowing yourself to eat what you want still.
Mhm.
Like, people do that.
Right. And we were talking about intermittent fasting over here. Like it's such a common thing right now and so popular because it's you can eat whatever you want within this period of time and then just don't eat within this period of time. Right. And as we were talking about this, it reminded me years ago, we have students who are training to be like nutritional specialists and fitness specialists here on campus. And like, I think it was like 6 years ago, they were like, we need faculty to go down and work with these students. And I volunteered along with a bunch of people. And it was so interesting to be on that side of it. Like, so I had this student who was training to be a fitness specialist, and she would always ask me about my diet. and like shame me for the choices I made. So I just started lying to her, right? Like I was like, all right, like forget it. Like I'm just gonna lie to you then. Like she'd be like, what did you have for breakfast? And I'd tell her, and she'd be like, well, maybe you should eat this. And maybe you should eat this instead. Well, yeah, you don't eat this. And so eventually, after like a week, I was like, I'll just tell her what she wants to hear. Right. And so sometimes going to a nutritionalist adds an element of like shame. And then there's like all of this other, like there's a bunch of things that can be added onto there. And so this is a tricky thing. Weight loss, weight gain, food in general, complicated for a lot of people, right? It really, really can be. And again, if you want to know more, I think some of these books and documentaries are great places to start, and pretty accessible. Thin we have in our library, and this one's on Netflix, and we have a lot of these books as well if you just wanted more information about it. Okay, so we don't have a ton of time left, but let's get like a slide or two into chapter 10, and then I'll stop from there, and we'll pick up with that on Wednesday. So the last chapter in this unit, some similarities here is looking at substance-related disorders. And there's really only 2 disorders in this chapter. And we're not going to talk about the specific drugs. It's kind of outside of the scope of this class. I'll introduce the categories of drugs, but that's about it. If you want to know more about like depressants and stimulants and hallucinogens and so on, you can take like a neuropsych class here or any kind of substance related class. Neuropsych's probably the best one here. You'll learn how all of that affects the body. How many of you are doing that now or have done it? Neuropsych. That's a tough class, right? And I wasn't my favorite class, right? It's tough, right? We have some wonderful people who teach it, but it's tough. So what we'll focus more on are what are psychoactive drugs in general, and then the substance disorders, right? So there's really 2 of them, and that's what we're going to focus on for our purposes. But there are just an incredible number of substances out there in the world, right? So many different psychoactive drugs, right? And this is literally just a massive group of substances. Any drug that alters your mood or your perception is considered a psychoactive drug. Now, this is everything from like caffeine. I see a lot of cups of coffee, right? I've already had mine today, so you don't have to hide it if you have it out, right? This is caffeine and Tylenol, right? And cough syrup, antidepressants, to heroin. It reacts different to substances, right? And we've talked about that a few times, that even things like caffeine, people have different responses to. And as long as we have recorded history, people have sought ways to alter their consciousness through substances. This is not something new. We've had substances around forever. And when people take a substance, it can cause a temporary change, right? Which we call like intoxication, right? A temporary change in your behavior, emotion, or thought. Or what we can see are long-term changes and long-term patterns like addiction and substance use. And that's what we're going to focus on mainly in this chapter. But really, again, a massive amount of substances. And some of them more dangerous than others. These are legal versus illegal, purchased versus prescribed, natural versus synthetic. There's just a ton of these. And to complicate it even more, we all react differently to everything. I can't take NyQuil. Right. When I take NyQuil, I am like hallucinating and I will wander the house. Like I cannot take NyQuil, right? Like something as mild as that. Like last time I took it, I ended up in the backyard. I almost fell in the pool, right? Like my partner was like, what are you doing? 2 a.m, I'm wandering the backyard confused, like NyQuil, right? That's me, right? Just nice and entertaining in the backyard at 2 a.m. And other people can take a ton of NyQuil and be fine. Again, we talked about caffeine and so on. So this is complicated by the fact that we all have different chemistry and different backgrounds and susceptibility to how we react to substances. And again, I'm not going to focus on these, but I did put a tiny bit in the slides about the 3 main categories of drugs. There's more in the book if you want more, but this is kind of beyond what we're interested in. We have drugs that we categorize as depressants. Depressants slow down your thinking, they slow down your behavior. Things like alcohol, barbiturates and benzodiazepines, the opiates, the morphine and heroin and the endorphins. So we have a whole ton of drugs that slow down the way that you think and process the world around you, which we would call depressants. We have a whole host of drugs like stimulants that speed you up, right? That cause an activation of your sympathetic nervous system, creating a lot of energy, reduced sleeping, reduced appetite, things like cocaine and the amphetamines, ecstasy, nicotine, caffeine, energy drinks, right? The list goes on and on here as well. There's an incredible number of stimulants in our culture, right? Nicotine in cigarettes, one of the most commonly abused drugs. It's actually one of the most addictive drugs as well, even more addictive than things like marijuana. Nicotine has a very, very addictive property to it. But we have a lot of stimulants. And then finally, hallucinogens, which are drugs that alter your visual and auditory perception, right? They distort your sense of like time and space. You might see things or feel things that aren't there. Things like LSD and marijuana and a whole bunch of others, right? We have so many of these substances. And again, this isn't something that we're focused on, but I did want to kind of mention them, and the book goes into them a little more. Yeah. Yeah. So narcotics are tricky. Like, so narcotics is more of like an umbrella term for drugs. And so they can fall into multiple categories. Tricky, a lot of drugs actually can. Like marijuana doesn't fit neatly into the hallucinogenic category. It has some stimulant properties. It has some depressant properties. So generally we talk about 3 categories, but that's really imperfect as well. We can also talk about drugs in the way that they affect us. They can be kind of in 2 different groups in that way as well. So it's not a perfect system of dividing them up, but generally narcotics is more of like an umbrella term. And the drugs within that could also fall into different categories, generally. Was there another hand over here? Did you have your hand? Yeah. Yeah, it can affect people very differently. Some people, when they take marijuana, it stimulates them and they have a hard time calming down. They become paranoid and agitated. Other people, they take it to sleep. It kind of depends on the strain. There are so many strains of marijuana and they all have different like implications, which is why it's a hard one to categorize, right? And it's one of the most frequently used drugs. And it depends on what state you're in for how legal it is or illegal it is and whatnot as well. A lot of different variations, like there's CBD and CBN and, you know, like THC, there's all these different like elements of marijuana, which make it difficult to categorize. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here because we only have 5 minutes left. And what we'll do next time is we'll talk about the main disorders related to this. We'll go through causes and treatments. I have a little case study related to it. Again, remember, I wrote all this up here. And we have a few extra minutes, as I mentioned earlier. If any of you want to give me your Uber tips, I'd be happy to take them since it's a new system for me. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll pick up on Wednesday. Enjoy all the rain, drive safe, and I will see you all on Wednesday.